The laughter came easily to her that afternoon, light and careless, the kind that floats away without consequence, or so she thought. Standing under the sharp white sun outside a crowded supermarket, Mara Ellison never imagined that one small joke, one reckless moment of generosity mixed with disbelief, would unravel her certainty about the world within 24 hours and leave her staring at her own reflection with regret burning in her chest. Before the story pulls you deeper, take a moment right now. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet power of human connection, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel Dreams Dairy. Your support keeps stories like this alive. It was late morning, and the parking lot shimmered with heat as people moved in and out carrying groceries and tired expressions. Mara had come straight from her office, dressed in a clean linen blouse and tailored trousers, her life ordered into neat columns of meetings, deadlines, and predictable routines. She noticed him near the entrance, not because he was loud or dramatic, but because he looked invisible to everyone else. The man's name was Caleb Rowan, though she didn't know it yet. He stood beside a dented stroller with a sleeping toddler inside, the child's face smudged with dried milk and sunlight. Caleb's shoulders were slumped, his clothes worn thin from too many washes, and his eyes carried the dull exhaustion of someone who had not slept enough in years. Mara overheard fragments as she passed by. Cashier shaking her head, a receipt fluttering uselessly in Caleb's hand. His card had been declined. Again, he wasn't begging. He wasn't angry. He simply stood there, staring at the ground as if the concrete might offer an answer. Something about the scene made Mara pause. Maybe it was the way the toddler's tiny fingers curled around the stroller strap, trusting and unaware. Maybe it was the quiet humiliation hanging in the air. Without fully thinking it through, Mara reached into her purse and pulled out her credit card. What she did next felt, in that moment, harmless. She handed him the card with a half-smile, assuming he would refuse, assuming it would be a brief exchange that ended in gratitude and returned plastic. Felt like a joke even to her, a dramatic gesture that would go nowhere. When Caleb looked up, surprise flashing across his tired face, Mara laughed lightly, expecting the situation to dissolve. Instead, the card slipped from her fingers into his hand, and life shifted in a way she could not yet understand. Caleb hesitated only for a moment before using it. The groceries were modest: milk, bread, diapers, fruit. Nothing extravagant. He handed the card back with shaking hands, eyes wet with something deeper than gratitude. Mara waved it off, embarrassed now by the intensity of his relief. She walked away quickly, the sound of her own laughter echoing too loudly in her ears. She told herself it was nothing, a small kindness, a story she might mention later over dinner. The rest of that day passed as usual. Meetings blurred together. Emails piled up. The sun moved across the sky, casting long afternoon shadows through Mara's apartment windows. But somewhere beneath the surface, a strange unease settled in. She checked her wallet more than once, reassured by the familiar shape of her card. She slept that night believing the world was still safely predictable. The next day, everything had changed. Mara's phone buzzed during a morning meeting. A bank notification, then another. Her stomach tightened as she glanced down. Transactions she didn't recognize. Not large, but numerous. Pharmacy, a clothing store, a payment toward an overdue utility bill. Her breath caught as understanding dawned. Caleb had kept the card details. The joke had become real, and the consequences were suddenly hers. Anger came first, hot and sharp. How could he do this? How could she be so foolish? She left the meeting early, her thoughts racing faster than her car, as she drove through sunlit streets that now felt hostile. By the time she reached her apartment, the anger had softened into something heavier. Disappointment, yes, but also shame. She had laughed because she never truly believed he needed help beyond a moment. She had assumed control would always remain hers. When she called the bank, she froze before confirming the cancellation. Images flooded her mind. The toddler's sleeping face. The way Caleb's hands trembled. The list of transactions replayed itself, no longer abstract numbers but necessities. Diapers, medicine, power. She sat there in the bright daylight, sunlight spilling across her floor, and felt the weight of her own privilege press down on her chest. Mara did something unexpected. Instead of canceling the card immediately, she tracked the address linked to the charges. That afternoon, under the same relentless sun, she stood outside a small, aging apartment building with peeling paint and broken steps. Her heart pounded as she climbed the stairs, unsure whether she was seeking confrontation or closure. Inside, she found a life held together by effort and love. Caleb answered the door with panic written across his face, the toddler now awake and clinging to his leg. The apartment was clean but sparse. A single fan pushed warm air around the room. Bills were stacked neatly on a table, each one stamped overdue. The truth unfolded without drama. Caleb had lost his job months earlier. Medical expenses had swallowed his savings. Pride had kept him silent. Desperation had made him reckless. The regret Mara felt then was not about the money. It was about the laughter, about the way she had treated someone's survival as a momentary thrill. In the clear light of day, she understood that kindness offered lightly could still carry deep responsibility. She paid the bills properly. She helped him find resources. She connected him with a friend who ran a small logistics company. Over the following weeks, Caleb found work, steady and honest. The toddler's laughter filled that small apartment again, brighter this time. Just before the story ends, I have a special request for you. Please comment below with one word that describes how this story made you feel. Your words matter more than you know. 24 hours after a careless laugh, Mara Ellison learned that kindness is not a joke, and trust is not temporary. If this story touched your heart, if it made you pause and reflect on your own choices, please like, comment, and share this video. Your engagement helps Dreams Dairy continue telling stories that remind us how deeply our actions can shape someone else's life, especially in the light of an ordinary day.